bottom line, I think the biggest reason why I don't really want to live all in one big house, I just like who I am more now than who I was in Utah or any other time.
The bedroom revelations just dropped, and they're absolutely wild. Christine Brown's new book hit Barnes & Noble shelves early, and the Reddit community is in complete meltdown over details that nobody expected her to share. We're talking intimate bedroom demands, hour-long massage rituals, and a surveillance system that would make your skin crawl. Sources close to early readers are sharing screenshots and summaries that confirm what many of us suspected but could never prove.
I just feel like it's him, starting to he's always trying to place the blame somewhere else. It's my opinion. It's my opinion. He may think differently. But the kids, he's still very estranged from his children, which is a very hard thing, I think.
Kody's bedroom behavior wasn't just selfish, it was systematically manipulative. And the role Robyn played in monitoring and enforcing these intimate arrangements, that's the bombshell that has the sister wives community absolutely reeling. But here's what makes these revelations so powerful. This isn't gossip or speculation anymore. Christine put it in black and white, with specific details that paint a picture of control that extended far beyond what cameras ever captured. The hour-long massage demand that Kody required before intimacy, while refusing to reciprocate because touching his wives didn't turn him on? That's just the appetizer.
But they have these things, I don't know if you've heard of them, but you put them up to your ear and you can actually talk to people. Oh, it's like this now. And yeah, they can, and they all have
You can
them.
also write little messages
Yeah,
to
you
them.
can. You can on these devices that you can hold here or here.
The most shocking revelation involves Robyn's role as bedroom police. Imagine discovering that your husband was sharing intimate details about your private moments with another wife, who then had the audacity to guilt you about your performance. That's exactly what Christine reveals happened in the Brown family dynamic. Early readers describe feeling physically sick reading some sections. One Redditor wrote that Christine's wedding night description made her cry for a woman she'd never met. Another said the massage revelations explained everything about the power dynamics they witnessed on screen for years. And here's the kicker that has everyone talking. These aren't isolated incidents or one-off complaints. Christine methodically documents a pattern of sexual control, emotional manipulation, and systematic degradation that every woman who's ever felt pressured in a relationship will recognize immediately. The timing of these revelations couldn't be more perfect. Women across social media platforms are connecting dots they'd been trying to piece together for years. The manipulation tactics, the financial control, the way Kody seemed to operate from a playbook of psychological dominance, it's all making terrible sense now. But the real bombshell that's got legal experts talking is how these bedroom revelations connect to broader patterns of financial and emotional abuse that Christine also exposes in detail. Now let's talk about the massage situation that has everyone's jaw on the floor. According to Christine's book, Kody had a very specific pre-intimacy ritual that he demanded from his wives. We're talking about a full hour-long massage that he required before any romantic encounter. Not 5 minutes, not a quick back rub, a full 60 minutes of his wives catering to his physical comfort. But here's the part that makes every woman's blood boil. When Christine asked for reciprocation, when she requested that same level of physical attention and care, Kody flat out refused. His reasoning? It didn't turn him on to touch her. Let that sink in for a moment. He expected an hour of physical service, but couldn't be bothered to return even a fraction of that attention. Christine writes that she eventually stopped giving the massages altogether, and that's when the real manipulation kicked into high gear. Robyn apparently questioned Christine about why she'd stopped this service to Kody, because according to Robyn, Kody was such a good husband and deserved this treatment. Picture the psychological impact of this scenario. You're already feeling rejected because your husband won't touch you the way you touch him. Then another wife comes to you, essentially acting as his advocate, questioning why you're not meeting his physical demands. It's a masterclass in making someone feel guilty for having basic human needs for reciprocal affection. Multiple early readers confirm this wasn't a one-time conversation. This was an ongoing pattern where Robyn would monitor and comment on how the other wives were treating Kody. One Reddit user described feeling sick reading about how Robyn positioned herself as the authority on proper wife behavior. What makes this even more disturbing is the context of their religious beliefs. In fundamentalist Mormon culture, wives are taught that their primary purpose is serving their husband's needs. Christine was already conditioned to prioritize Kody's comfort over her own. The massage demand wasn't just selfish, it was spiritual manipulation disguised as marital expectation. And here's the red flag that every woman needs to recognize. When someone expects service without reciprocation, that's not love, that's exploitation. When they use religious or cultural justifications to make you feel guilty for wanting basic human affection, that's emotional manipulation at its finest. But this massage revelation is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how Robyn operated as Kody's bedroom enforcer. Here's where the story takes a turn that will make every woman who's ever dealt with workplace gossip or family drama absolutely furious. Robyn wasn't just Kody's fourth wife, she was his personal relationship enforcer, monitoring and managing the intimate lives of the other women in ways that would make your skin crawl. According to Christine's revelations, Kody was sharing detailed information about his intimate relationships with each wife directly with Robyn. Not general relationship concerns or emotional struggles, specific details about their private moments together. Then Robyn would approach the other wives with helpful suggestions about how they could better serve their husband. Remember on the show when Robyn insisted she never discussed what happened in other people's bedrooms? Well, Christine's book reveals that was completely false. Robyn was not only discussing these private matters, she was actively intervening in them. When Christine stopped giving those hour-long massages, it was Robyn who questioned her about it, essentially guilt-tripping her for not meeting Kody's demands. Picture this scenario in any other context. Imagine your husband sharing intimate details about your relationship with his female friend, who then approaches you to criticize your performance as a wife. That's not just inappropriate, it's a fundamental violation of privacy and trust that would end most marriages immediately. But in the Brown family dynamic, this behavior was normalized, and even framed as Robyn being a good sister wife. She wasn't helping, she was establishing herself as the authority on proper wife behavior, while simultaneously gathering intelligence about everyone else's relationships. Early readers describe feeling physically uncomfortable reading about how Robyn would cry to Christine, pretending to want closeness and bonding, only to then run back to Kody with twisted versions of their conversations. It's psychological manipulation disguised as sisterhood, and it worked brilliantly to isolate the other wives from each other. What makes this even more insidious is how Robyn positioned herself as the marriage expert, despite being the newest addition to the family. She had no experience with the family dynamics, the financial struggles, or the emotional complexities the other women had navigated for decades, yet she appointed herself as the judge of their wifely performance. And here's the pattern that women everywhere need to recognize. When someone uses false concern to gather private information, then uses that information to manipulate situations in their favor, that's not friendship, that's strategic psychological warfare. But the surveillance system Robyn and Kody created extended far beyond just monitoring intimate relationships. What Christine reveals about her wedding night will break your heart and explain so much about the dynamics we witnessed for years. Remember, Christine had never kissed anyone before her wedding day. Her first kiss happened at the altar, and she was completely inexperienced in every aspect of physical intimacy. She trusted Kody because he already had 2 wives and experience. She assumed he would be gentle, careful, and understanding of her complete inexperience. Instead, what she got was a traumatic introduction to married life that left her crying from physical pain and emotional devastation. Christine writes about expecting romance, tenderness, and the kind of loving intimacy she dreamed about. She imagined gentle touches, emotional connection, and feeling beautiful and adored on what should have been one of the most special nights of her life. Instead, she experienced what she describes as a complete lack of care or consideration for her comfort or emotional state. The most heartbreaking part of her account is how she spent the rest of their honeymoon too physically uncomfortable to be intimate again. Think about that. A woman's introduction to married life was so traumatic that it overshadowed what should have been a romantic bonding period for newlyweds. But here's what makes this even more disturbing from a psychological perspective. Kody had already been through this process twice before with Mary and Janelle. He understood the emotional significance of a wedding night. He knew Christine was completely inexperienced. Yet he apparently gave no thought to making the experience positive or even comfortable for her. Early readers of the book describe feeling genuine anger reading Christine's account. One Reddit user wrote that it explained everything about why Christine always seemed to be seeking approval and validation from Kody throughout their marriage. When your introduction to intimacy in marriage is traumatic rather than loving, it sets a pattern of trying to earn the tenderness you should have received from the beginning. What every woman needs to understand from Christine's experience is this: a partner who truly cares about you will prioritize your comfort, especially during vulnerable moments. Someone who's experienced and knowledgeable has even greater responsibility to be patient and gentle with someone who's not. Christine's wedding night wasn't just disappointing, it was a preview of the selfish, uncaring approach Kody would take to their entire intimate relationship, and it foreshadowed how little consideration he would show for any of his wives' emotional or physical needs throughout their marriages. But this pattern of emotional neglect extended far beyond their intimate relationship into every aspect of Christine's life as his wife. What Christine reveals about Kody's information sharing system will make every woman who values privacy absolutely sick. This wasn't just casual conversation between spouses, this was a systematic violation of intimate trust that turned private moments into weapons of manipulation. According to Christine's book, Kody was regularly sharing detailed information about his intimate relationships with each wife directly with Robyn, not general relationship struggles or emotional concerns that married couples might discuss with friends, specific details about their private moments that should never leave the bedroom. But here's where it gets even more manipulative. Robyn wasn't just passively receiving this information. She was actively using it to position herself as the relationship expert and to undermine the other wives' confidence in their marriages. When Kody complained to Robyn about Christine not meeting his demands, Robyn would then approach Christine with helpful advice about being a better wife. Think about the psychological impact of discovering that your most vulnerable moments are being discussed and judged by another woman. Christine writes about feeling like her private life was under constant surveillance, with Robyn monitoring her performance and finding her lacking. Early readers describe feeling violated just reading about this dynamic. One Reddit user wrote that it explained why all the wives seemed to walk on eggshells around intimacy topics on the show. They weren't just dealing with their own relationship challenges, they were dealing with the knowledge that everything was being reported back to Robyn for evaluation. What makes this even more insidious is how Robyn used this information to establish her superiority in the family hierarchy. She could position herself as the wife who satisfied Kody's needs while subtly undermining the others by suggesting they weren't meeting his expectations. This information network also explains why Christine often seemed defensive or insecure about her relationship with Kody on the show. Imagine trying to work through normal marital challenges while knowing that your husband is sharing your private struggles with another wife who's actively working against your interests. The red flags here are enormous for anyone in any relationship. When your partner shares intimate details about your private moments with others, that's a fundamental violation of trust. When they use those conversations to make you feel inadequate or to justify their treatment of you, that's emotional abuse disguised as communication. But the most devastating part of Christine's revelations is how this information sharing connected to broader patterns of financial and emotional abandonment that left her completely isolated. The bedroom manipulation was just one piece of a much larger pattern of abandonment that Christine documents in heartbreaking detail. When she needed surgery on her knee and became dependent on pain medication, Kody literally dropped her off at home and refused to stay with her when she asked for help. Picture this scenario. You're coming home from surgery. You're in pain, you're confused about medication instructions, and you ask your husband to stay with you. His response, he doesn't know about the medications, and you need to figure it out yourself. Then he leaves you alone to deal with surgery recovery and potential addiction issues, while your teenage daughters and your mother step in to provide the care he should have given. This wasn't an isolated incident of poor judgment. Christine reveals that Kody was rarely present at the original 3 wives' homes except to eat and sleep. He wasn't participating in family life, helping with childcare, or providing emotional support during difficult times. He had essentially become a boarder who expected service without providing partnership. The most devastating example involves their daughter Truly's life-threatening illness. Christine was out of town when Truly became seriously sick. The older children called Kody to tell him something was wrong with their little sister, and he refused to even go check on her because he was busy with Robyn's children. Let that sink in for a moment. A father was told his young daughter might be seriously ill, and he refused to leave Robyn's house to check on her because he was occupied with his other family. Christine writes that had Truly actually died from his neglect, she would have left him immediately. The only reason she stayed was because Truly survived. Early readers describe feeling genuine rage reading about Kody's priorities during this crisis. One Reddit user wrote that it perfectly illustrated how completely he had abandoned his responsibilities to his original families once Robyn arrived. But the financial abandonment was equally devastating. Christine confirms that all their money went into a family pot, but Kody and Robyn were controlling how it was spent. Meanwhile, Christine was working multiple jobs, including night shifts while pregnant, trying to support her children. When she asked Kody to help with simple parenting tasks like tucking the kids in while she was working these multiple jobs, he told her no, she needed to figure it out herself, or ask the sister wives. He had completely checked out of parenting responsibilities while still expecting to control family resources. The pattern here is crystal clear and unfortunately familiar to many women. Financial control combined with emotional abandonment creates a situation where women are trapped, providing service while receiving nothing in return. Now we get to the part that explains everything about the Brown family dynamics that never made sense on the show. According to Christine's revelations, Robyn's strategy for securing Kody's attention and resources was brilliantly simple. Total compliance with whatever he wanted, however he wanted it, whenever he wanted it. While Christine and the other wives were struggling with normal human needs for reciprocal affection and emotional connection, Robyn was playing by an entirely different rulebook. She gave Kody his hour-long massages without complaint. She accommodated his preferences without question. She never pushed back on his demands or asked for her own needs to be met. In return, Kody showered her with time, attention, and family resources. He spent all his time at Robyn's house. He prioritized her children's needs over his other children's safety. He gave her access to family finances while the other wives struggled to make ends meet, working multiple jobs. But here's the part that makes this strategy so psychologically devastating for the other wives. Robyn then had the audacity to lecture them about not being good enough wives while she was reaping the benefits of total submission. She could afford to be generous with advice about serving Kody because she was getting everything she wanted in return. Christine writes that once Robyn joined the family, Kody essentially stopped spending meaningful time with his original children altogether. He would show up late for dinner, eat, sleep, and leave first thing in the morning to return to Robyn's house. The original 3 families became service providers for his basic needs, while his real life happened elsewhere. Early readers described feeling sick, reading about how calculated this arrangement was. Robyn wasn't just naturally more compatible with Kody. She was strategically positioning herself as the wife who would never cause problems or make demands. What makes this even more manipulative is how Robyn used her favored status to police the other wives' behavior. She could afford to criticize Christine for not giving massages because she knew she was safely ensconced as Kody's preferred partner. She had nothing to lose by making the other wives feel inadequate. The most disturbing part of this dynamic is how it turned the wives against each other instead of recognizing that they were all being exploited by the same system. While Christine was struggling with Kody's refusal to show her basic affection, she was being told by Robyn that she wasn't trying hard enough to please him. This created a competition where the prize was crumbs of attention from a man who was fundamentally incapable of truly caring for any of them. The Sister Wives community is having what can only be described as a collective awakening, and it's happening across every platform where women gather to discuss relationships and family dynamics. From Reddit threads to Facebook groups to group text conversations, women are connecting dots they've been trying to piece together for years. One Reddit user wrote that Christine's revelations finally explained why she always seemed to be walking on eggshells during family discussions on the show. Another said the bedroom revelations made her physically sick, but also provided clarity about manipulation tactics she'd witnessed in her own life. The response isn't just about sister wives anymore. Women are sharing their own experiences with partners who demanded service without reciprocation, who shared private information to manipulate situations, who used religious or cultural expectations to justify selfish behavior. Christine's courage in speaking truth has opened floodgates of recognition. Facebook groups dedicated to discussing polygamy and fundamentalist Mormon culture are exploding with activity. Women who escaped similar situations are validating Christine's experiences and sharing their own stories of systematic manipulation disguised as religious duty. What's particularly powerful is how many women are recognizing these patterns in traditional marriages as well. The hour-long massage demand, the refusal to reciprocate affection, the use of other people to monitor and criticize behavior, these tactics aren't limited to polygamous relationships. TikTok creators are making videos about recognizing emotional manipulation in relationships, using Christine's revelations as examples of red flags every woman should watch for. The massage story in particular has become shorthand for relationships where one person expects service without providing partnership. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Women who've spent decades feeling guilty about not being good enough wives are suddenly seeing their experiences reflected in Christine's story. They're realizing that their frustration with one-sided relationships wasn't a personal failing. It was a normal response to abnormal treatment. Legal experts following the story are also weighing in on social media, explaining how the patterns Christine describes constitute emotional and financial abuse. They're helping viewers understand that manipulation disguised as religious duty is still manipulation. But the most powerful response is coming from women who are using Christine's revelations as permission to examine their own relationships more critically. They're asking themselves harder questions about reciprocity, respect, and whether they're receiving the partnership they deserve. The Sister Wives community has become a catalyst for broader conversations about women's worth in relationships and the difference between serving someone you love and being exploited by someone who doesn't truly value you. What Christine's revelations illuminate goes far beyond one dysfunctional polygamous family. This is a window into systematic exploitation that's been normalized and even sanctified within fundamentalist religious communities for generations. The patterns Christine describes, demanding service without reciprocation, using religious doctrine to justify selfish behavior, creating competition between women for scraps of male attention, these aren't personal quirks of Kody Brown. These are features of a system designed to concentrate power in the hands of men while making women grateful for crumbs. Former members of fundamentalist Mormon communities are speaking out on social media, confirming that Christine's experiences mirror their own. The expectation that women provide whatever men want sexually while suppressing their own needs isn't unique to the Browns. It's doctrine disguised as divine will. Religious scholars who study fundamentalist groups point out that the massage demand Christine describes is essentially unpaid labor with sexual undertones. When combined with the expectation that women work multiple jobs to support the family while men control the finances, you're looking at economic exploitation wrapped in religious rhetoric. What makes Christine's story particularly valuable is how clearly she documents the psychological manipulation tactics used to maintain this system. The isolation, the competition between women, the constant monitoring of compliance. These are cult control techniques applied to family relationships. Legal experts specializing in religious abuse cases explain that what Christine describes meets the definition of systematic exploitation. The combination of financial control, sexual coercion through religious pressure, and emotional manipulation creates what amounts to trafficking within marriage. The most insidious part of this system is how it teaches women to blame themselves for their own mistreatment. When Christine stopped giving those hour-long massages, she was made to feel like a bad wife rather than a woman with reasonable expectations for reciprocal affection. This pattern extends beyond polygamous families into any relationship where religious or cultural expectations are used to justify one-sided arrangements. Women in traditional marriages are recognizing similar dynamics where they're expected to serve without receiving partnership in return. Child welfare experts are also weighing in, pointing out how children in these systems learn that women's needs don't matter and that men's comfort takes priority over everyone else's well-being. Christine's story about truly being neglected while Kody attended to Robyn's children perfectly illustrates how these priorities damage the next generation. But perhaps most importantly, Christine's courage in speaking these truths is giving other women permission to name their own experiences and demand better treatment in their relationships. What makes Christine's book so powerful isn't just the shocking revelations about Kody's behavior, it's watching a woman reclaim her voice after decades of being told her needs didn't matter. Every page represents a step away from a system designed to keep her grateful for scraps and toward recognizing her worth as a complete human being. Christine's decision to pursue child support wasn't just about financial security for Truly, it was about forcing legal recognition that Kody is indeed Truly's father after he made their daughter feel like she wasn't truly his child. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a child is make their neglectful parent legally accountable for their care. The courage it took to write about those intimate details, to expose the manipulation and control she endured, represents a complete transformation from the woman we watched on television. She's moved from seeking approval from someone incapable of truly valuing her to sharing her truth with millions of women who desperately needed to hear it. Early readers consistently mention that while Christine shares difficult truths about Kody, she doesn't write with cruelty or vindictiveness. She writes with the clarity of someone who's finally free from a fog of manipulation and can see the patterns clearly for the first time. What's particularly inspiring is how Christine's liberation is inspiring other women to examine their own relationships more critically. Her story is becoming a catalyst for conversations about reciprocity, respect, and the difference between compromise and capitulation in marriage. Legal experts predict that Christine's detailed documentation of financial and emotional abuse could influence how courts handle similar cases involving religious communities. Her willingness to name these patterns publicly provides a roadmap for other women seeking to escape similar situations. The Sister Wives community is already speculating about what other revelations might emerge as more women find the courage to speak their truths. Christine's book has opened floodgates of recognition that aren't likely to close anytime soon. But perhaps most importantly, Christine's story demonstrates that it's never too late to choose yourself. After decades of putting everyone else's needs first, she's finally living for her own happiness and modeling healthy relationships for her children. So here we stand, watching a woman transform pain into power and isolation into connection with millions of other women who've walked similar paths. Christine Brown isn't just telling her story, she's rewriting the narrative about what women deserve in relationships and giving others permission to demand better. What strikes me most about these revelations is how they confirm what so many women suspected but couldn't quite put into words. Do you think Christine's courage in sharing these intimate details will inspire other reality TV wives to speak their truths? And which aspect of Kody's manipulative behavior shocked you the most? The massage demands or the way he used Robyn to police the other wives? Make sure to tap like, hit subscribe, and keep those notifications on, because something tells me the next round of Sister Wives revelations will be even more eye-opening than these. A fresh video is already queued up, and the legal implications of Christine's book are just beginning to unfold.